Shalom. Greetings from Jerusalem, the city of peace. Modern man tends to forget things. He's more easily distracted than previous generations. Thanks to the latest technology, he can work on many projects at once. In this relentless pursuit of performance and achievements, he forgets to live. His soul is unable to turn to core values and to find meaning in life's simple pleasures. Psalm 103 is definitely a poem that can help him to reflect on the quality of life and the abundant life as Jesus saw it. The psalm is made of 11 stanzas with a chiasmus commonly found in biblical literature. In this structure, the most important message is at the center of the text, and all the other elements are presented in parallel phrases, as if to emphasize the central message. The key point of Psalm 103 is confirmed by its construction and is vital for human beings. God wants fulfillment and happiness for his children. There are 11 principles that we must not forget if we want to live a life that is both satisfying and blessed. Number 1, thankfulness. This is verse 1 to 2. The message is clear. Don't forget God's blessings. The Torah reminded the Israelites the dangers of forgetfulness. When you have eaten and are full, then beware, lest you forget the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 12. We must admit that the beautiful country in which we live is much closer to the prosperity than what we could imagine in the promised land in the time of Moses. They did not have washing machines, a central heater, tap water, and so on. Yet they forgot to thank God for all his blessings. The same thing could happen to us if we fall prey to the prevailing discontentness depicted in the text of Pierre Dac, the French poet. This is his wonderful poem with the title, Never Happy. People never satisfied with their lot are those who are always complaining that things are bad. When everything is not well, who, when everything is well, complain that everything is not very well. Who, when everything is very well, complain that everything is not excellent. Who, when everything is excellent, complain that everything is not perfect. Who, when everything is perfect, complain that perfection doesn't belong to this world. Who, when they have everything they want, complain that they don't have everything they dream of. And who, when they have everything they want and everything they dream of, fall into a depression, for they have nothing to desire and nothing to long for. Element number 2, God is ready to heal you. Verse 3 to 5. We are grateful for the remarkable work of health professionals, but we must keep in mind a fundamental truth. God is the author of life, and he is the one who heals us. Moreover, his action is holistic. He gives us physical health, forgiveness, and crowns us with goodness. Therefore, it is important to maintain a close relationship with him through prayer and meditation. Element number 3, follow God's will. Verse 6 to 7. Sometimes God's way seems restricting. Many people think that they are contrary to their freedom. However, David reminds us that God's revelation to Moses contributes to man's happiness in a remarkable way. Let's remember God's words to Isaiah. "Oh, that you had heeded my commandments, then your peace would have been like a river, and your righteousness like the waves of the sea." It is written in Isaiah 48:18. Element number 4. Know God and his character. Verse 8. The phrase abounding in mercy could also be translated as chief executive officer, CEO, Lord of mercy. The phrase Rav in Hebrew is a term describing someone who is full of respect. The word rabbi derives from it. It also has a military connotation, representing a commander or a captain. We must never forget that God is goodness. When a problem arises, we are prone to accuse him. Nonetheless, Christians know that we have a God like none other. He is the source of benevolence. No one else is as merciful as he is. He is CEO, the captain of mercy. Element number 5. Work hard to discern who God is not. Verse 9 to 10. Here we see that God does not keep his anger forever. This is a good example for men and women who succumb too often to their irritation. The Hebrew word for anger is av, which also means the nose, and refers to the red nose of those who are full of anger and who are breathing with agitation. But God is not like that, and his children would do well to imitate him. When we think about the abundant life and wellness, we must bear in mind that we need inner peace to grow a strong body. Element number 6. Receive forgiveness and give it also. Verse 11 to 13. Most people bear their burdens for too long. They cannot get rid of their guilt feelings and imperfection, so they focus on their mistakes and live in auto-destruction. God offers a much better alternative. By the action of his grace, he wants to keep our past far from us. He's ready to make it inaccessible and far from our present experience. He wants us to keep our eyes on the bright future that he is preparing for us. That is why he removes our transgressions from us as the heavens are high above the earth and as far as the east is from the west. Element number 7. By knowing God, you will start to know yourself. Verse 14 and 15. On a Greek temple built in Delphi, the Greeks wrote the following inscription: "Know yourself." They considered this as the ultimate knowledge of religious experience. The Bible teaches something else. It says that the most important thing is to know God, because to know him is life eternal. John 17:3. And then he will help us to know ourselves because he's our creator. And he sees us, not as we are, but as we may become in him. 1 John 3:1-3. That is why David invites us not to forget the way that God looks at us and that shows his patience toward us. Element number 8. Know your limits. Verse 16. Don't forget who you are not. The Turks used to say, man is harder than iron, stronger than stone, and more fragile than a rose. But we tend to forget that. We think that everything is possible and that the future can be up to our dreams. The Bible writers remind us to take it easy by saying that we are like the wind, or as Moses said, like a sigh, like a sound. Psalm 90, verse 9. For those who accept it, this truth is of the utmost importance. By accepting our frailty, we will become more realistic, less solitary, and we will learn to be interdependent. Above all, we will value the life that God has given us. Yes, life is short, and so it is in the valley of the shadow of death. The good news of salvation will soon be realized, and we will obtain the indestructible life that God has promised. Element number 9. Don't forget eternity. Verse 17 and 18. Cicero said, God's law is right reason. When perfectly understood, it is called wisdom. When applied by government in regulating human relations, it is called justice. If we look at David's perspective, we will agree that Cicero is right. David knew that God is always faithful and that he will abide with human beings no matter what. May we take advantage of this affirmation to taste his faithfulness, the beauty of his covenant, and allow him to live within our hearts. Element number 10. Allow God to be in control of your life. Verse 19. God is sitting on his throne. He is the master of the universe. Angels, seraphims, and the host of beings in the universe bow down before him. Unfortunately, the human beings on spaceship Earth strive to dominate and control things. So many couples divorce simply because one person wants to be right. How many bloody battles are due to the fact that we do not want to submit to God's reign? Our psalm reaffirms God's sovereignty. It is best for us to invite him to reign in our hearts. And element number 11. Live in harmony with the universe. Verse 20 to 22. God created us to find fulfillment in worship. It is in the total and permanent connection to the source of life that we must live. It is by uplifting our Creator that we find the right perspective. It is only when we bow down before God that we find our true self. Joseph Garlington said, to worship is to act as inferior before a superior. When I worship God, I am saying by my actions, God, you are better than I am. You are bigger than I am. You are more than I am. Unless we understand this, we are nothing. What better way to conclude this reflection on the abundant life by quoting C.S. Lewis, who reminds us how to build a life worth living. We only learn to behave ourselves as humans in the presence of God. May this fundamental text of King David become a permanent inspiration for us. Yes, life is possible, and life of quality is possible. Let's not forget to live fully like those who are blessed, those who know God and his love, but also know their own weaknesses, those who, above all things, live by God's grace in harmony with the universe and surrender their lives to him. They live without stress. Obviously, such a life of happiness, joy, and worship is possible and exciting.